Key point 1. Focusing on how systems operate. A system is a group of interrelated things that create a pattern of behavior over time. Take our digestive system as an illustration. It's made up of elements like teeth, enzymes, and various organs that are linked through the flow of food and a sophisticated network of chemical signals. The primary role of this system is to decompose food into vital nutrients and channel them into our bloodstream, which is another system, while getting rid of the parts our body can't use. Many challenges we face today stem from breakdowns in these intricate systems. Addressing only a single part without considering the whole is ineffective. Systems, though, aren't static. They're shaped by external factors and react based on their inherent traits. They possess the unique capabilities to adjust, react, aim for outcomes, heal, and thrive, even if some of their parts aren't alive. One of the remarkable attributes of systems is their self-organization and self-repair. They're not only robust and resilient, but also capable of evolution. However, out of one system, other completely new, never-before-imagined systems can arise. System thinking helps us see the causes of the problems and the opportunities. In this summary, you'll learn about the different ways of seeing and thinking to make a difference in your life and world. In addition, you'll understand how a system operates outside the realm of computers and equations. There are no separate systems. The world is a continuum, where to draw a boundary around a system depends on the purpose of the discussion. Donella Meadows, Key Point 2. Working hand in hand. A system is any structure that contains sub-parts that are all geared toward one goal. A system isn't only a tech term. It describes every organization made up of much smaller units that are all working independently but united in the endpoint. A system is not a singular construct. It comprises parts that make it complete. These basic parts are what ensure a successful system. They are namely elements, interconnectedness or interconnection of elements, and purpose, goal, function. The elements of a system are its tangible or intangible contents that work together to achieve the desired purpose. They include those factors or parts that the system is primarily made up of. An example of a system is a football team, and its elements are the players, the coach, the technical staff, the training schedule, and everything that is somehow linked to the functionality of the team as a whole. If any part of a system works in opposition to the main goal, the entire system will fail. The interconnectedness of a system refers to how the parts of the system are connected and how they interact with each other. It describes the relationship within the core of the system between the segments and how this relationship aids the achievement of the purpose of the system. A system with a healthy relationship between its parts will most definitely experience success. This is because for a system, which is really the sum of its parts, there must be a strong link between them to work together correctly. Without the brain sending signals, the system will be faulty for the human body. So there must be true interconnectedness for it to work. The purpose of a system is that desired product for which it was set up in the first place. For example, if the system was set up to fight crime in a particular area, then that is its purpose, and all its units will be geared towards achieving that. Did you know, according to the Orthopedic Specialty Group in 2015, there are between 60,000 and 100,000 miles of blood vessels in the human body. Key point 3. Flows and stocks. Usually, we rush to point at the most prominent parts of a system and attribute the success of the system to them. However, the least observed parts of a system are the ones that ensure its success. To observe a system wholly, to truly understand it, you may want to start with learning how its elements work, but these only give a limited view into the behavior of a system. To understand a system is to break it down into its subsystems and investigate it. To gauge the behavior of a system is to identify its purpose or function. A system's behavior is broken down into stocks and flows. The stock of a system consists of the elements that can be accounted for, the tangible elements of a system that can be readily measured at any given time. Flow refers to the subtle changes in the stock over time. The flows are those things that can alter the stock either positively or negatively. Due to the presence of flows, it is essential to note that the stock is constantly changing. When the stock is population, the presence of death and births is supposed to make sure the stock stays constant. If the number of deaths and births are equal, then the stock or population will remain unchanged, but the flow will always vary, and as such, the population will either increase steadily or decrease. When there's a change in stock, the system gives off feedback. Feedback helps map the stock changes and helps to trace the growth or decline over a period of time. It has two types: balancing feedback and reinforcing feedback. Balancing feedback is for the purpose of adjusting the stock whenever there's a dip or spike in it. It is there to restore the normal level. Reinforcing feedback is one that doubles down on the current change in the stock. When there's a dip in the amount of the stock, reinforcing feedback works to keep the amount of the stock reducing, and when there's a spike or increase in the levels, the reinforcing feedback will keep looping the increase steadily. I have yet to see any problem, however complicated, which, when looked at in the right way, did not become still more complicated. Paul Anderson, Key Point 4. Self-sufficiency through resilience. There are three major characteristics for a well-functioning system, which are resilience, self-organization, and hierarchy. The resilience of a system is the measure of its ability to adapt to several changes it will be made to endure an encounter. It is the system's elasticity. That means it is the measure of how well the system can reduce from a transition or change. The resilience of a system is dependent on its structure and the quality of its feedback. The resilience of a system is how it can absorb the shocks of changes and restructure itself to handle the new terrains. It's why the system survives and continues to do so. As crucial as resilience is, a system doesn't rely solely on it to survive. The survival of a system also rests heavily on its ability to self-organize. This describes its continuous skill to shift and adjust and restructure itself in the face of change. The ability to self-organize is a greatly essential attribute for any system because it will always be prone to changes, both external and internal, and its survival is hinged on how quickly it can get its ranks back in order. An improperly arranged system will fail. Lastly, a system is assured of proper functionality if it has a seamless hierarchy in place. A hierarchy is a system where every subpart is ranked so that each part, but the topmost, is subordinate to the one above it. The hierarchy of a system and its self-organization are essential to its survival and health. A hierarchy is important because it spreads the information across each subpart, thereby reducing the burden either of them has to bear. Imagine, for example, a soccer team. It also operates with hierarchy in play on the field. The defenders aren't going to take upon themselves the duty of the strikers and vice versa. Everyone is mainly concerned with their own tasks and work on them. Key point 5. The unpredictable nature. It isn't enough to know how a system works. It's also essential to know why it does. Most times, when we observe a system, as earlier stated, we focus more on the results than the actual behavior, which is often dictated by the minute parts that contributed to it. Then again, frequently, a system's output isn't always going to be effectively observed by its results or its constituent elements. When we observe a system, the mistake is that we expect the result to mirror the element and how they interact with it. Often, a system behaves unusually and goes against the trajectory of its results or elements. When you come across a system that failed to achieve its purpose, you immediately conclude the fault was something in its setup or a faulty subpart. This isn't always true. For example, a football team can play really well and still lose. The result would not reflect the actual abilities of the team in any way if you only observed the result. You cannot always predict the result of a system by observing its success or failure. This linear relationship between success and effort isn't realistic. If 2 men cleared a piece of land in 7 days, 1 man wouldn't clear it in twice the amount of time, not every time. It's such a fickle and unstable thing with a system's linearity. Sometimes the quantity of a system's elements can cause it to fail entirely or succeed. A system can be a part of another system of systems working simultaneously. It's also possible for a system to operate simultaneously, and the failure of one means the ultimate failure of the grander system. To truly grasp the grander system, though, requires understanding the minuscule subsystems. The common mistake would be approaching the grander system first head-on and working your way down to the subsystems. However, a system consisting of other systems working in sync is too large to fully comprehend. As such, its subsystems give a much easier perspective for a deeper insight into the larger workings. Key point 6. Struggling to perform. Systems aren't perfect. They can be corrupt and behave abnormally. This is because a system often comprises countless parts. Among those parts are elements or subsystems. When subsystems within the system have different goals or are actively working in the opposite direction from the system's main function, there are sure to be problems. This clash in purposes is greatly detrimental to the whole system. When one subsystem is carrying out independent tasks, the rest have to work extra hard to achieve the collective purpose of the system. This calls for tweaking or adjusting, and naturally a system can be adjusted to make room for the changes it experiences. To adjust a system, you change its buffers, design, and delays. You can tweak and fix a system by getting at its core and design. Buffers are the parts of the system that give it the room to operate. These include time, inventory, and storage space. A properly designed system is made for maximum efficiency, and as such, by virtue of its design, it can counter any fluctuations. It will keep out any factors that will force it beyond its own limit. But when the design of the system itself is limiting, then the only fix is to redesign the whole system from scratch. Lastly, a delay in a system is yet another way to alter the system's structure to favor its survival. The delays of a system are simply the time periods between when a system encounters a change and when it restructures itself to handle it. This delay ensures the system has enough time to take on the challenge and adjust its subsystems to tackle it. This way, even in the event of something drastic that upsets the system, it will be much more efficient when the system regains its structure. Key point 7. Finding what the system depends on. The intangible part of a system is those you cannot touch, measure, or appreciate into units or amounts, but they also affect the system's overall performance. The elements of a system aren't always the tangible parts, but also the intangible ones. To fully understand the system, it would require a wholesome assessment. These include rules of engagement, the flow of information between the subsystems, and their self-organization. A system often fails when it has an ebbing flow of information within its ranks, because to aid a smooth operation, you need a healthy exchange of information. If one subsystem is overburdened with so much information, then it will crash, and when it does, it'll affect the entire system gravely. The intangible proponents of a system are its internal mechanisms, and they are essential to the system's overall success. So to really ensure a system will function properly, you must fix its internal mechanism. Those elements of the system that constitute its core are the ones you must address. For example, if the system is perchance a band playing a concert and there have been low attendance, and you seek to increase it, then you must address what factors would be responsible for keeping fans from attending and find a way to rid the system of them. The factors could be the band image or a certain member of the band's image that causes people to avoid seeing them play. As a manager, you must move to redefine and redesign the group's image so that it's appealing and brings in more commercial success. This shows conclusively that systems can't be wholly fixed if you focus on their tangible parts. But on the other hand, the intangible ones account for more potential influence, and it would be wise to channel more energy towards those elements of the system. To ensure the smooth running of a system, we must fix the intangible elements. Conclusion. Life is one big system, and we only appreciate it in full when we focus on small units. Every day, we are confronted with systems in every walk of life, and although they seem overly complex, they aren't. When you can think in systems, you've been able to isolate each challenge you encounter and narrow the problem down in relation to its elements, interconnectedness, and purpose. Once you can see that each system is but a subsystem of another, you'll find great ease in tackling challenging system problems. While many people don't take the time to study life and see its systems, once you do, the answers that elude you will disappear. The purpose of a system is not based on its goals, but on its behavior. One major thing that causes systems to crash is missing information flow. The solution to this is to add or restore, and this is easier and cheaper than rebuilding physical infrastructure. The management of systems is not only for the sake of stability and productivity, but they also need to be managed for resilience, the ability to recover from perturbation and restore or repair themselves. A system goes beyond the sum of its parts. It's characterized by the capacity to adapt to life situations, dynamism, goal-seeking, self-preservation, and sometimes evolutionary behavior. Many of the interconnections that exist within systems function through the flow of information. Information holds systems together and plays a significant role in determining how they operate. Try this. When confronted with a complex task or a challenge, think of it as a system and strip it down to the constituent parts until you can isolate its flaw and fix it.